And Courtney Act is hitting back at a Liberal senator who's accused her of grooming children while reading a story on an episode of Play School. During a recent Senate hearing, Senator Alex Antic wanted to know why the drag icon was doing a segment about a girl wearing pants.
Why is the ABC grooming Australian children with this sort of adult content?
Senator, I don't see that as grooming children with that content. That particular program is reading from a book that's about dressing up.
Grooming is a really serious matter. It's not for being played with.
Well, you might be wondering what she did to get Senator Antic so fired up.
Mum had picked out 3 different dresses. Frankie hated each one. Frankie wanted a suit that would take you places, marvellous places, something with lightning bolts and stars and swagger. I think it looks absolutely spectacular. Do you think so too? What about you, Humpty? Very stylish indeed.
Would you please put your hands together and welcome Courtney Act. Hello, my lovely friend.
Hello, how
nice
are
to
you?
see you.
Nice to see you.
You haven't had much of a chance to respond to this in public yet, so I just want to put it to you. Obviously, it's a very serious term that he used. He accused you of grooming Australian children, were you?
I was actually at a 10-day silent meditation retreat when all of this went down, and you hand in your phone, had no contact to the outside world, and you always wonder when you're in there, like, what's going on the outside? You know, have I been cancelled? What's going on? And I came out to learn this news, and I was in the perfect place to sort of receive that because I'd been meditating and feeling my sensations on my body for the last 10 days. And I was really taken aback that I would be accused of such a thing, because grooming is really serious, right? Like, grooming is the act of an abuser manipulating a child so that they can sexually abuse them. It's really a serious thing. And to use terms of abuse where no abuse is actually happening really takes away from the occasions when it is happening. And, you know, I'm on television reading a children's book. There was nothing untoward about it. And it was really quite a shocking thing to be accused of. And I really wanted to take the opportunity. I wrote a bit of an op-ed in the Sydney Morning Herald because I wanted to, like, break down in sort of common sense terms what was actually going on and maybe do a bit of the critical thinking for people who just have busy lives and saw it on telly, and just explain to them the situation.
The book itself is called The Spectacular Suit, and it's about a little girl who's wearing pants or chooses to wear a spectacular suit.
Yeah.
How much do you think it had to do with the content of the book versus the fact that you're dressed in drag?
Yeah, I think that using the book as the thing that was the issue was probably a bit of a shortcoming. Like, the idea of a girl wearing pants, but we moved beyond that. Katharine Hepburn in the 1930s wore trousers. She kicked down that gender door, and it was made so much easier because she was wearing pants. And, like, we've all agreed that women can wear pants, so it felt like a very peculiar thing for him to zoom in on. I think it was probably more to do with the fact that it was me reading the book. And I think the reason that is, and the reason the term grooming was used, is because somebody like Senator Antic might see my identity as sexualised. And there's this idea that who I am is inherently sexual. And I think the reason behind that is that the thing that makes maybe me different from him is my sex life, who I have sex with. And because I'm attracted to men and I'm a male person who's attracted to men, that sort of reduces my whole identity just down to who I have sex with. And obviously I'm much more than just that. And I think that him viewing me as inherently sexual is probably the place where we get a bit off track, because, you know, all sorts of performers, you know, he's married with a kid, so he's obviously had sex at some point in his life. But obviously we know what's appropriate in different circumstances, and in that circumstance I think what I was doing was completely appropriate. Kids just see colour and sparkles and fun. They're not sexualising me. That's something the adults do.
So, Courtney, what would you say to parents who think that the play school age is too young to address issues of gender fluidity?
Well, it's interesting, right? The term gender fluidity has always baffled me, because gender is fluid. The example earlier of Katharine Hepburn wearing pants, women wearing pants. We have example over history and over time and at different cultures right now around the world where gender is different for people who have penises and people who have vaginas. Like, that's sort of the basic elements of it. And so the fact that gender is shown to be fluid over history just doesn't make sense that people should be criticising the idea that maybe you know, boys are being feminine and girls are being masculine. And so the term gender fluidity, I feel like, isn't the best one. I think maybe what those detractors are trying to say is we're scared of trans people or we don't want our kids to be trans. And I think the real thing here is that the more stories that we can have describing lots of different types of experiences, kids get to understand themselves relative to that. And for me, having more stories, even as an adult, helped me to understand my own gender identity, which ultimately wasn't trans, but when I was younger and I only had two options, I thought, oh, I don't really feel like a man, therefore I must be a woman. But when I had more examples, I was able to understand that I'm just me.
We've really got to go. Are you doing all right?
I'm doing okay, yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you. Courtney Act, thank you.
Thank you.